I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch network. Donald Trump's lawyer, Joe Tacopina, who I suppose is supposed to be defending Donald Trump in connection with the Manhattan District Attorney's criminal investigation and the imminent indictments, well, I guess he felt he wasn't humiliated enough over the past few weeks going on the various media programs. And over this past weekend, again, did his rounds on various media programs and just continued to humiliate himself, his client, and frankly, further incriminate his client, which is very good for justice. I want to show you the interview that Tacopina did with Chuck Todd on Meet the Press, and then I'll show you one that he did with Al Sharpton on MSNBC. In both, Tacopina made a complete fool of himself and again, further incriminated Donald Trump. So this is from the interview with Chuck Todd, where Chuck Todd pulls up the various posts that Donald Trump's been making over the past week or so, where he calls Alvin Bragg total scum and the devil, and says George Soros funded this and that, and posts a photo of himself. Donald Trump has the photo of himself with a baseball bat looking like he's going to bludgeon Alvin Bragg. He called Alvin Bragg an animal. I want you to watch Tacopina's response here, where Tacopina even says, well, I think it was ill-advised, and then blames it on a social media manager. Play the clip.
Called him a degenerate psychopath. And he called him a Soros racist in reverse, saying this is the Gestapo. As his lawyer, do you stand by those comments?
So, Chuck, as his lawyer, I want to dissect this case because it's a case that shouldn't be brought and wouldn't be brought up for anyone other than Donald Trump. Let's be clear about that. Does anyone actually think, left, right, or in the middle, that anyone else will be prosecuted for making a civil settlement in a hush money case with personal funds? Of course not. No one's ever been prosecuted for that. You know, the closest we've come is John Edwards back in the day, where a donor paid $900,000 for his mistress and the child to be, housed somewhere. That case was ultimately dismissed by Department of Justice after they couldn't get a conviction, and that was with the donor. The distinction here is so vast, and it's clear to anyone, whether you're if you're a supporter of Donald Trump or detractor or don't like anything about Donald Trump, we should all be concerned as citizens in this country about the weaponization of a prosecutor's office, and that is what this is. And I swear to you, in my 32 years as both a prosecutor and a defense lawyer, I've never seen an abuse of discretion like this.
Well, you say that. We don't know what the charges are yet. We have no idea what the charges are. But I go back to, is it? No, would you advise a client? Would you advise a client to personally attack a prosecutor like this? I mean, it's dehumanizing, Mr. Tacopina.
You know, Chuck, I know. I'm not his social media consultant. I think that was an ill-advised post that one of his social media people put up, and he quickly took down when he realized the rhetoric in the photo that was attached to it. But that being said,
you're only referring to the baseball bat. He didn't take down the other rhetoric. Wait a minute. You're referring to the baseball bat thing, which of course was featured in the New York Post cover. New York Post thought it was a pretty rough hit, and there was a doubt. I mean, here's the thing. We went through January 6th. So it's not like a possibility that Trump's rhetoric creates violence. It's already happened once. Are you not concerned this could happen?
Well, I'm not accepting that proposition that his rhetoric created violence. I think violence was on the way that day, but I'm not here to discuss.
And then notice at the end of the clip, Tacopina says, well, I'm not going to buy the premise that Donald Trump fomented violence during the January 6th insurrection. Well, okay, Joe Tacopina, let's actually go to your court filing that you made when you were representing the insurrectionist Julian Cotter. That's the insurrectionist who assaulted and which ultimately led to the death of Capitol Police Officer Brian Sicknick. And in your sentencing memorandum, you blamed Donald Trump for fomenting the violence on January 6th. You know, Tacopina, there are receipts for all of these things. Here, let's go to page 14, where you say, upon arriving at the grounds of the Capitol, Julian, while walking behind Mr. Tanios, as noted in paragraph 21, encountered something very different than which he anticipated. Protesters bellowing into megaphones, inciting others with rhetoric about a putative stolen election as emotions reached a feverish pitch. Here it is. A climate of mass hysteria fueled by the dissemination of misinformation about the 2020 election originating at the highest level. Let me repeat, originating at the highest level gave rise to a visceral powder keg waiting to ignite. And that is precisely what occurred. This legal brief is signed by you, Joe Tacopina. There is your signature. Now Chuck Todd asks you, I just wanted to pull out that receipt. Then Chuck Todd asks you another question about, well, why were the funds from the Trump organization? And then Tacopina basically says, what was supposed to be in the ledger? Hush money? And then Chuck Todd goes, I don't know, maybe the truth? Play the clip.
It was legal fees and was invoiced by Michael Cohen, who arranged this on his own with his own money initially, took out a loan, literally, resolved this without the president knowing, came back and then sent a bill in for 4 times the amount. Over the course of a year, it was paid off as legal fees, as was the invoice. Right. But what would he supposed to put in his personal ledger? Seriously, what would he put in his personal ledger? Payment for hush money to quiet an affair that I claim I never had, so my family doesn't get embarrassed. Is that what you should put in his ledger? There's nothing wrong with
How about the truth?
You want. Your ledger.
You keep saying what should be in the ledger?
Chuck.
Should it be the truth?
Chuck. Would you ever put a 4-paragraph sentence into a ledger? Chuck, you're being, honestly, I think you're being a little petty when you're looking at this now.
Now, in this clip, Tacopina further incriminates Donald Trump by essentially admitting that Donald Trump believes that all of his business records constitute his own personal records, that Donald Trump sees no difference between what he does personally and what his businesses do for him. Play the clip.
You keep saying it's personal funds. That is not what Michael Cohen pled guilty to. This was funds where he was repaid by the Trump organization. Trump signed the checks.
No,
one of them
incorrect.
that was there. So you call it
Incorrect.
Personal funds. It is in a court of law. It's been proven that it was Trump organization funds.
It's personal funds. It was not funds related to the campaign. That's the distinction.
But he used a Trump organization check.
Not campaign finance laws. But Chuck, that's personal. That's personal. It has nothing to do.
So everything with the Trump organization is Donald Trump the person? I mean, you realize the door you're opening there.
Chuck, you're absolutely conflating issues, and they don't go together. They just don't. This is a case that is being investigated because allegedly Donald Trump had an obligation to notify the FEC. Okay, the Federal Election Committee. He did not. The FEC has come forth and said that. This has nothing to do with whether he paid it through his organization, through a corporation, or his personal funds. These were personal funds. By all accounts, these were personal funds, not campaign funds. It's personal campaign, whether it's Trump organization, Donald Trump, the person, Mar-a-Lago Corporation, whatever it is, they're personal and not campaign funds. And that's the key distinction here. If they were campaign funds, we'd be having a different discussion. We'd be talking about how he used campaign funds to pay personal expenses, and they'd be baying for an indictment, as I said earlier.
But again, what this investigation may end up being is about the essentially the falsifying business records.
I mean, as Chuck Todd said, yeah, that's a very slippery slope. And let's not forget the Manhattan District Attorney's other criminal investigation that's taking place, which is actually a far more serious criminal investigation, even though the felony for the hush money payments is a serious one. The one that the Manhattan District Attorney is still investigating is for Donald Trump's fraudulent valuation and business fraud. It's basically the criminal version of New York Attorney General Letitia James' case that she's bringing, which is set to go to trial October 2nd of 2023. The civil case, that is, and we cover that here at the MeidasTouch Network. But there, when you have Joe Tacopina basically admitting that Donald Trump views the Trump organization as his personal slush fund, that's going to be used as evidence in future criminal cases against Donald Trump. So thank you for that, Tacopina. And here Chuck Todd asks, why did Trump say Tuesday? And Tacopina's like, oh, I don't know, assumed. Play the clip.
Start with a simple question. Why did your client, Mr. Trump, make that claim that turned out not to be true? Did he make it up?
No, he didn't make it up. He was reacting towards a lot of leaks coming out of the district attorney's office. There had been a leak, Chuck, that Monday, the day before that Tuesday, there was a law enforcement meeting, including Secret Service and NYPD, that was going to go through the logistics of the arraignment. And then there was, of course, a lot of rumors regarding the arraignment being the next day. So he just, I think he just assumed based on those leaks that what was going to happen.
Has anybody...
so it wasn't about making it up, and certainly he doesn't want to be arrested.
Then we go to the Al Sharpton show on MSNBC, and Al Sharpton says, will you denounce Donald Trump's post? And watch Tacopina again fumble the football. Play the clip.
Not here to defend all things Donald Trump. I'm here to defend this case. Okay, Donald Trump is Donald Trump. He's as aggressive as he is.
Does he have an obligation to denounce the rhetoric and what has happened to Alvin Bragg? We had a prayer rally for Alvin Bragg this morning. This man and his family could be under serious threat.
What someone sent to Alvin Bragg has nothing to do with Donald Trump.
How do you know that?
Because Donald Trump would have nothing to do with that.
Donald Trump wrote death and destruction if I'm indicted. He announced that he was going to be indicted Tuesday.
That came from leaks. That came from leaks.
He posed with a bat.
No, he didn't. No. So let me explain that.
Wait, just a minute. There was a picture with a bat that someone had put together he reposted. Did he not?
So however,
the witness answered the question.
The witness about to answer the question.
Did he repost it?
However ill-advised that post was, reposting that. He reposted an article. Does that
mean that you stipulate he did repost it?
Well, apparently he reposted, but I also know he took it down when he realized what was in that photo. He was reposting an article, but he did take it down.
So I stabbed you in the back, but I took the knife out.
Before the knife did any damage.
Before the damage. So if you are Alvin Bragg's family and you see a repost by the former president of the United States with a bat next to your father's head.
But you understand that was not his photo. It was in an article.
He reposted it.
It was but he was reposting the headline of the article without seeing the picture. When he saw the picture, when he was notified, he took it down.
So you're telling the American public that Donald Trump didn't see the picture?
I'm telling the American public I'm here to discuss the case and the facts. Social media is not what I do. I'm not a PR person for Donald Trump. I'm here to litigate the case. There is no crime in this case. And so I can understand why he's becoming upset. He is becoming politically persecuted.
And here Al Sharpton very astutely gives a beautiful cross-examination of Tacopina. And you see Tacopina just can't even handle the questions. I mean, it's very, very, very strange that he just keeps going on TV and enduring this humiliation. Again, it's great for justice, so keep on going on TV. But here Al Sharpton says, well, what was the intent? It's a very basic question. What was the intent of the payment that was made 2 weeks or right up to the election? What was the intent? Play the clip.
No, it is very simple.
It is.
You have a lawyer who paid a woman 10 years after the alleged sex act, right before an election, and he was reimbursed by your client. How is that not a prima facie case that the grand jury has?
It's clearly not. Because I'll tell you what, there's two massive distinctions here in campaign finance law, which I've become sort of expert in. I've listed Bradley Smith, the former head of the FEC. One, unlike John Edwards, this was paid with personal funds. So there's a massive distinction there.
Matter.
Oh, it does.
It doesn't matter.
Yes,
what was
there's
the
a statutory
intent of the payment? What was the intent of the payment?
To prevent embarrassment to himself and his family. Even Michael Cohen said that under oath when he pled guilty.
So you're saying that Michael Cohen paid the star, the porno star,
whatever,
so that Donald Trump wouldn't be embarrassed to his family, and it just coincidentally happened a couple of weeks before the election. For 10 years, they weren't worried about it.
She came forward when he was running for presidency. She didn't come forward for 10 years before. Some might call it extortion, but putting that aside, Reverend, listen to me. It has to be, for it to be a campaign finance law violation, it has to be exclusively done for the campaign.
If we were in court, I would ask them to read back your statement. She came forward 2 weeks before the election, which meant you were reacting to the election.
No, it meant you were reacting to an extortion attempt to hide something that did or didn't happen. The president said it didn't happen. She said it did now before she said it didn't happen.
So there you have it, folks. Another series of interviews by Donald Trump's lawyer, Joe Tacopina. I hope Tacopina is front and center before a jury in this case. Please, Tacopina. Please, Donald Trump, have Tacopina do all of your cases. You know, it's almost as if they're like writing these scripts for SNL, or in this case, the MeidasTouch network. I mean, it's that baffling to me as a lawyer that this is taking place. But again, you get the lawyers you deserve. Donald Trump, Tacopina. Donald Trump, Alina Habba. Donald Trump, Christina Bobb. Donald Trump, Jenna Ellis. Donald Trump, Giuliani. Donald Trump, Sidney Powell. I could go on and on and on, but you get the point. Hey, thank you for helping us get to that 1 million subscribers. Now we're headed to 2 million subscribers here on the MeidasTouch Network. So please hit subscribe right now. Hit the subscribe button. We so appreciate you. It's free to subscribe. Also, wherever you get your audio podcast, just search MeidasTouch Podcast. It's free to subscribe on audio as well. So search for the audio podcast. And finally, you can check us out at patreon.com/MeidasTouch, patreon.com/MeidasTouch. That's how we fund this independent media network. We don't take any outside investment. Until next time, I'm Ben Meiselas from the MeidasTouch Network.
Lock him up! Indictment season is upon us. Celebrate with the new Indictment Season t-shirt and v-neck exclusively at store.meidastouch.com.